Welcome to the No Notes Pod, episode 5. If you've made it this far, congratulations. You're part of an elite early group to the bandwagon.
This is
We
Apple,
got
the 80s, baby.
yeah, exactly Apple in the 80s before Jobs got kicked out, came back and revolutionized the world. I guess you could say we're doing similar. A few topics for today's pod. I think we need our post-game reaction from Game 4, which was a little bit crazy, and we didn't really get to talk about it. Obviously, the last pod was before Game 4, so want to share that with you guys, and then also talk about the Kevin Durant news, his preferred trade destinations, what some of those options could be, where we could see him going, for what kind of trade packages, and then the big news, the breaking news: Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic in what we could consider an overpay, but we'll talk about the pros and cons of that deal for both sides. With me today, we've got tried and trusted Chenny Britt, NBA insider, Lakers lover, LeBron stan. I'm not sure in that order, but thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, if I had a bio, it would be Braun stan first, and then Lakers fan, and then I'm gonna call myself an NBA insider because it's just the easiest grift in the fucking world, bro. The easiest grift in the world. We're gonna have a pod later on this summer, hopefully once we start building this out more, and I actually want to talk about that whole NBA insider grift and how easy it is to actually build a name up by saying that. And I do. There's a certain creator of a team that I love who makes decent content that I follow, who I legitimately think has been running a McNulty season 5 wire type of grift. And he already had a decent following before, so he didn't need to do this, but it's actually kind of crazy watching it play out.
Yeah, I will say this happens in every sport because I follow soccer transfer news, which is crazier than the NBA and NFL because it's essentially year round, and because there are so many leagues and teams, there are different insiders. Whereas with the NBA, you've got Shams, and with the NFL, you've got Schefter and maybe Peter Schrager. But there are only a few guys who you're following for official news. Whereas with soccer, it's all over the place. So the grifting is so much easier, and essentially there's a tier list of, okay, these are the guys that are speaking truths, and then everyone else is tier B, C, D, whatever. But yeah, I'm not surprised that's the case. But I'd call you at least a Lakers insider because you seem to know a lot more information than I do, specifically about Lakers. Because when we're on the phone, you're like, oh, and they're doing this, or they're thinking about this or that. And it isn't available to the general public because I'm not following the message boards and following them as closely as you are. So I throw it around as a loose term, but I'm going to give you credit.
Lakers expert. Lakers expert.
Because
I'm
Lakers
a secondary
expert.
source. I am not a primary source.
No,
I'm just
hey, that's fair.
Secondary source on planet Earth.
You're still.
I'm always on my phone.
You're still feeding it to the general public though. So call it what it is. Initial reactions to Game 4. I think just to summarize for people that didn't listen to the episode 4 on the last pod, we both thought OKC were going to win, and we both kind of discussed what the implications would be. I think you were a bit more, favored towards the Pacers, and we both agreed though if the Pacers won Game 4 and they went up 3-1, that they were the favorites in the series, and that the series could potentially be close to over at that point, and this was the game that OKC needed to win and swing the series back. Unfortunately, I think we were both cheering for the Pacers. Unfortunately, they blew it down the stretch, and OKC was able to come out on top. What are your initial thoughts from the game and just overall takeaways about where this leads us for Game 5 and beyond?
Oh, I think they blew it, man. We had the same view, which is just you got to win that game to because you're still playing a far superior team, and you gotta win that game to put that pressure on. And it still would have been a close series if they won that game. It would have been a very close 6-game series. We both thought that still had a chance to go 7, but you can't lose that game. I hope that Carlisle and the Pacers they're a super mentally resilient team. So I do hope that they are not buying into these narratives and just saying, fuck it, we're playing a game we're playing a basketball game, and let's just go do what we got to do. That's definitely the mentality they're going to have. It's more of, oh shit, is OKC going to just come out with so much energy at home in Game 5 that they just steamroll you? So that's the concern. The game, man, it was there for the taking, bro. They were playing so well. It was really like a few plays down at the end where I just felt like they fucked up bad. And I think you've called this out where they're resting Hallie a little bit too much right now. They can't do that for the next game. I know why they rest him, because they expect their guys to play super hard, but you got to play him more. You can't have him be out for 8-minute stretches or whatever it was. It was a long time that he was out. The thing that bothers me the most about that fucking loss, and I've been bitching and moaning about the calls. There were some absurd calls that OKC was getting away with, like shoves and stuff like that. But ultimately, I don't think that's why they lost the game. Obviously, what really happened is the Pacers just kind of like started turning it over a bit, and a lot of those were unforced, and they were starting to play really, really fast. And I think we had mentioned in the previous pod, hey man, if you guys want to run, keep running, but make sure the ball is in the right person's hands, not like Obi Toppin. If it's Siakam by himself on the break, fine. He's just gonna go right to the rim and draw a foul. That's fine, but just make sure the ball is getting into the right people's hands. Toppin, I know he had a really good game, but he missed these 2 big free throws that were like, I think it was a flagrant. He just missed both, and it's like it was fucking plays like that, man, that just fucked them. And I thought the biggest thing is, dude, Miles Turner, bro, come on, man. He's got to fucking give him something. Like, he was ass in Game 3 until the last 5 minutes. And in that game, he was so fucking bad, dude. You got to hit 1 or 2 threes, or just give them something. They can't have nothing from Miles Turner. And that, like, to me, that's why they lost that game. I think if he just needed to hit 1 or 2 of those threes, and they got that shit in the bag, bro. But you can't have your starting center give you absolutely jack shit like that, man. That's
I agree with almost everything you said. I mean, to add on to your point, I think the things that stood out to me, number one, is in Game 3, OKC missed some free throws, and in Game 4, the Pacers missed some free throws. I did call out the Halliburton minutes. They didn't rest him as long going into at the beginning of the fourth as they normally do. They put him back out there like maybe 30 seconds earlier. But I'm like, you've got a good cushion. You want to put this team away. Just burn him out. Burn him out and rest him the next game and concede that you're going to lose in OKC and go down, or stay up 3-2 and then come back and play in Indiana for the win. Like, burn him out. This is the game to burn out Halliburton. That was my whole point. When they were up double digits, I was like, hey, keep him in, burn him out, and then play McConnell next game. And if you concede it away from home at OKC, like, that's okay. That's to the script, essentially. They didn't do that. I think that those non-Halliburton minutes, it let OKC get back into the game or kind of keep the game at, within touching distance. And then down the stretch, I just hated almost every single one of Indiana's possessions. They're one of those teams where if they're not running and they slow it down, Halliburton has to have the ball in his hands. There are too many times where someone else is taking a shot or they're trying to run, more quickly and just shoot the ball around. And I understand everyone getting touches, but when it comes down to crunch time, I felt like OKC did a really good job of getting Shea the looks he wanted and Jalen the looks he wanted. And Halliburton didn't really get great looks, I didn't feel like. And I don't feel like he was involved enough down the stretch. They turned the ball over. They made just uncharacteristic mistakes considering what got them to that point. And they really needed this one. There was a point in time in the series where it's just like, there's no way Indiana's going to win this series. The talent disparity is too large.
Yeah.
And then, Team of Destiny, people kind of talked me into it. Oh, your OKC sweep pick was stupid. But I'm like, at the end of the day, OKC is just the better team. If both teams play, within their basic range of performance that you would expect on a game-to-game outcome, OKC's going to win. I mean, you're essentially going to have the Pacers outplay their average performance, and you're going to have OKC underplay their average performance in order for the series to go the Pacers' way. I think it might be out of reach for them at this point, even at 2-2.
Yeah.
But I will say this. The Pacers should have won that game. There were some bad officiating calls. Like, there are some really bad calls. Scott Foster was Scott Fostering hard during that game.
Yeah.
And I would say that in most other games, I think the Pacers closed them out. So I agree with you. I think my big worry for them is they go to OKC and the crowd carries OKC and they've got the momentum and the confidence and they just blow them out. If they can keep that game close, then I think that they can steal that game. It's just a question of, can you keep it close?
This Pacers game actually reminded me of the it was like was it game 3? It was game 3 Pacers Knicks, where the Pacers were up 2-0. First game at home, they're up like 10 the entire game, and they kind of fucking choked it. And the Knicks got that win because they basically choked it. So this kind of reminds me of that. And it's just like, man, I'll say this on the OKC side, credit to fucking J-Dub for just attacking the paint. He just kept attacking the rim, which is what he's got to do. So that was impressive to see. Obviously, SGA is an incredible scorer. He's the MVP for a reason. And then Caruso somehow ending up with 20 points is insane. It just goes to show, man, to all these guys who are coming in the league or younger hoopers, like fucking whether I think Caruso gets away with a lot or not is a moot point. It's like, play defense, cut, do all the right things, and you still might fucking score 20 points in the finals. Like, you had a 20-point game in the finals. Like, that's insane. So yeah, they stood tall. I thought they played steady the entire game. I didn't feel like OKC's level of play went up or down. I thought they played at like B+ level throughout basically the entire game. And then I thought the Pacers in the last part of the game just fucking dropped down to a D. And it was just absolute fuckery on offense. And just, yeah, like, I think in some of those moments, if they were going to get possessions like that, they're better off, like you said, just high pick and roll and just get a shot up, man.
Yeah, the officials kept OKC in the game and kept it close. And those Halliburton bench minutes really hurt them, the Pacers, and a combination of that, and then just there's no other word for me other than choking down the stretch. Just missing free throws. Mathurin missed 3 of 4 free throws down the stretch.
Yeah.
They had some bad fouls and turnovers. They didn't get the looks that they had been getting. It felt sped up. And I do think OKC got away with a few fouls. Don't get me wrong, especially
the
when the Pacers are home. Yeah, I mean, especially when the
It's
Pacers are at home, it's like you got to expect that they're going to get more of those calls. But the 50-50s just didn't go their way today. But regardless of that, I agree with you. I think regardless of that, OKC kind of deserved it in the end. Just because I don't think Indiana played well last 5, 6 minutes of the game. And if you can't close out games, you're not going to win the NBA. I don't know if that's a news flash for anybody, but you got to be able to close out games. I think that was a tough show for Halliburton down the stretch. I was expecting him to step up a bit more. I think Siakam, once OKC kind of went up or were tied or kind of up 1 or 2, Siakam got a little bit flustered and rushed into his shots a bit. He took some bad shots. He took a couple bad elbow jumpers that I just never thought were going in. There was a little bit too much ISO ball, but not with the guys I wanted it to be with, which is really Halliburton, because he's still an option to get the open man the ball when he drives. But credit to OKC. I mean, they needed to win this one to stay in the series. So where do you think this takes kind of game 5, 6, 7? Where does this go from here?
I think game 5 is a comfortable OKC win. And then I think game 6, 50-50. I think if it goes 7, OKC. And,
I was going to say, it kind of reminds me of the Denver series a little bit.
Yeah.
Where Denver stole game 1, lost game 2. OKC blew them out, which is kind of what happened here. Game 3, Denver won, which is what happened with Indiana. And then OKC broke them away from home in Denver to make it 2-2. Then won at home, lost away, and then won at home again. So it could break the same way against Indiana.
Yeah, I also thought like, dude, so the Naismith, like when Naismith got that touch foul, I thought that was a shit call. But also, if you're Naismith, why is your hand on his shoulder? Like, I don't think like that's one of those where it's like it's stupid because it's the letter of the law, but it's so dumb because he wasn't impeding his shot. He was just like doing it as kind of like a range detector. But dude, what the fuck, man? Just get your you know who you're guarding. You're guarding SGA. Like if you breathe on him, it's gonna be a foul. Get your fucking hands off. And he like that was a pivotal play, bro. That was a pivotal play. There was another play where SGA did travel. I'm not even talking about the push off. He had one where he like tried to spin, do the step through, and then ended up getting like free throws and like completely changed his pivot foot and traveled. But look, I think most of it was just the Pacers could have controlled that if they were just smarter with the basketball and just more under control. And but yeah, with the NBA, man, like it's so tough because each game is I think worth like $100 million extra in total revenue. Like, I don't know, man. Like I hate admitting that the sport that I love the most is a little bit rigged, but I don't think it's rigged to determine series outcomes. Unless it was like back in the early 2000s, like we had an actual ref come out and say it's like in trouble with the FBI. But I do think it is. I do think extending series is a serious priority, and why wouldn't it be, dude? If I was commissioner, I'd probably look to be extending these fucking series as well. It's too much money at stake. It's too much money at stake.
I'll say this: Scott Foster is known as the series extender, and I would like to see in the offseason a rule change. I think you should be able to challenge for a travel. Like those SGA, there were both two of them where I'm just like, you should be able to review that and say, there is your third step right there. And there's no gather. It was just, that's a straight up third step. And you got a superstar benefit of the doubt call. And we should be able to review that and say, that's just a straight turnover. Like that's just, it is what it is. We can challenge that play. Like, I think that they need to add that because it's frustrating when the other team does have a superstar who gets the benefit of the doubt on all of those plays. And you don't get that. Like the Pacers don't have a player that gets that on the other side of the ball. So it's tough because I really think you should be able to challenge that. Cause I was like, oh my God, that was just when they showed the replay, I was like, oh my God, that's just a clear travel. And it's just unfortunate. Like I don't know if there's a level of trying to extend the series or what it is, but I think we do need to add that to the list of eligible challengeable plays next season. And then, on top of what you said, just when Nesmith, quote unquote, got his hand caught in the cookie jar, that's just a play where if you are not a rookie or a second year player, you should know better.
You should know better.
If Mathurin did that, I'd say chalk it up to being, a second year player. But Nesmith's been in the league too long to get caught out. That's such a rookie mistake where it's like, is that a foul? I guess.
Yeah.
But you
don't even put yourself in that situation.
You shouldn't. Yeah, exactly. You should be releasing immediately before he swipes up. I mean, KD and Harden, all that's all they do. So it's like you should know by now. Jokic does it too. You should know by now not to do that. And I think it was the right call, even though it's a really annoying call.
Dude, I think honestly, I don't want to be super reactionary because they got this far with him. I think they have a Miles Turner decision to make, dude.
It's a free agent in the offseason, so they definitely have a Miles Turner.
No, but I'm saying I think.
Oh, do you run with Obi? You're saying do you just run it with Obi?
Well, no, Obi can't start for you at center, but it's more so when I say Miles Turner decision. Obviously, yes, he's a free agent. I mean that I think consensus was they'll probably try to bring him back. And now I'm not saying you don't bring him back, but I think you need to just kind of look at it and look at what is the center market's weak, so there's not a lot out there. So probably the safest move is to bring him back. But at the same time, Steven Adams just got 3 years, $39 million, dude. Like, excuse me. Like, dude, it's. Oh, Jesus. Anyways, yeah. I mean, dude, he limits their offense a lot. I get that he's a spacing big, but none of those threes that he took in that game look like they were going in. They just look like prayers. Like he's a prayer 3-point shooter that has enough touch to kind of push it in, but it's not the same as like to quote Simmons and Lowe, like Jabari Smith Jr. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there are pure shooters, and then there are like he's an okay shooter for a big. Where like it'll fall sometimes, but I don't know, bro. If you got anything from him, you win that game. Even with all the bullshit aside, the turnovers and all that stuff, you get anything from him, dude. You win that fucking game, and you can't have like you just can't have if your starting center is going to be like that, then you need an elite ISO scoring on the outside to make up for it. But the way they're constructed is like every player on that team that gets rotation minutes needs to be able to do a little bit of everything, and that includes chip in 10 to 12 points. And if he's not able to do that, bro, it's tough, man. I don't know. Man.
It's gonna be a big decision, one of their bigger decisions in the offseason. I think if he makes it to the finals and he's had some good games and some not so good games, or at least good moments, I think if the money's reasonable, you have to bring him back. But it's definitely a position they can upgrade, and it's mostly about what's available for them, whether it be the draft or you're like making a trade in the draft, maybe go up and get a guy who they like, or seeing who's available in the offseason and maybe getting two guys who could play different roles for you, like maybe a defensive big and then more of an offensive option. I don't know exactly what they want to do, but I also in the more realistic realm of possibility, I think they do probably bring Miles Turner back. I don't think he's been a disaster.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. In the center market's ass.
Yeah, exactly. So it's tough. I agree with you. He was a big contributing factor to them losing this game, but he's also helped them get here. So it's a tough spot for them to be in. Let's talk about just a little bit before we go into the KD and Bane stuff. In terms of kind of the game 5, just really quick, the outcome you think will happen. I'm calling an OKC blowout.
OKC blowout.
Okay, cool. We're in agreement on that. And I was wrong. I called the OKC blowout for game 4. I wouldn't consider that a blowout. That was a close game.
No, Pacers should have won
OKC's
that.
way. Right. It was one of those where like the Pacers hit their free throws and the OKC wins by 3. So it's like that was a close game.
Yeah, the first quarter will determine how game 5 goes. Agreed. Because the Pacers, OKC still look tired. Don't get me wrong. They still look tired at the end. They gutted that shit out. The Pacers, though, you fucking blew a game. So going into game 5, OKC's back in control. They're going to come out and fucking avalanche the Pacers. The Pacers have to weather that initial storm. If they can weather that initial storm and then make it a slugfest again, where you're just trading punches, then it's a 50-50 toss-up game. But that first quarter avalanche that is coming is going to be insane. Dort's going to hit like 6 threes in the first quarter, bro. Like you got to be ready for that shit.
My hot take, if I was the Pacers, and I know that ethically this might not be not all listeners might not agree with this, but I think Chet is close to an injury here, like a series-ending injury. Like he's playing hurt, not injured, but his level of hurt is high enough where I think he's more susceptible to getting injury now. If I were the Pacers, I would go at him full force and test him over and over and over and over again. See if you can get him out of the game. If you can get him out of the game, that will change how OKC plays.
Here's the problem. Who? It's supposed to be. Yeah, you can't post up Miles Turner like that's.
No. I agree. It really has to be Siakam somehow targeting Chet, or it has to be Mathurin going to the rim, bully ball. That's it. Those are your only 2 options for that. But I'm just saying, that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
I know. It'd be a good time to get a Mathurin bounce back game. Because they fucking need him, dude. They need him.
They do. But I'm saying I would really pressure Chet, test his leg. He came out of the game again. He's playing hurt, not injured, but I think he's close to an injury. If you really want to push him to see how far he can push himself physically, this would be the game to do it. Come out and be aggressive, and if you can get him off the floor, your chances go up exponentially. Because I don't love the Hartenstein minutes for them, and if they play small ball with you, like you're in good shape. So I just think I think that's their best chance. But I agree. I think OKC will blow them out. We're about 25 minutes in here, so let's transition to Kevin Durant and the destinations that he's outlined. And I think we've talked pretty extensively about the Spurs being a viable option for him. We can continue on that conversation, but also adding in Houston and the Heat as well. Were there any other teams that he mentioned?
No, I think it was those three. So no Minnesota, but I still think he would be fine with getting traded to Minnesota. I think.
Yeah, I think that's his preferred list, not his
Yeah.
only three that he wants to go to. But I think that's if he could pick three teams, it would be one of those three. We've talked about the Spurs, so let's focus
Yeah.
on the other
There's
two, and we
nothing.
can include the Spurs if we need to. But I kind of want to focus on the Heat because
Yeah.
I want to ask you a really important question, which is why the heck does he want to go to the Miami Heat?
So I would say this. I would say I would say that the Miami Heat, for all of the memes and exaggeration about Heat culture, like I love that shit. I love that they test players' body fat and make sure players are in shape. Like, good. I don't want to play with any fat fucks on my team. Like, you
Yeah,
guys should all be running around. So I think KD, we know historically, he works his ass off. He works his fucking ass off. He plays hard, and he will hoop. Like, people are worried about LeBron retiring, and I'm like, I can't see it. Even if LeBron posted that bullshit the other day, like, he loves hoop. KD to me is more obsessed with hoop than LeBron. He doesn't have a family. This is what he does. Like he will hoop until he literally cannot hoop anymore. KD might play for longer than LeBron just because he's not going to ever want to stop playing if he can still play.
injuries permitting. Yeah, I agree.
Injuries permitted. So because of that, that's Kevin Durant's like mentality wise biggest strength is he is a diehard hooper. He'll die on the basketball court before you drag him off. But we know from his history, he's not like necessarily a culture setter leader type. And in fairness to him, that shit's hard to do. Like that's a lot of work, and it's so much stuff that you got to do off the court. You go into Miami, and the Spurs have a situation too, but Pop's gone, so you don't really know. And like obviously, I think Spurs would probably be number one just because of whatever all that shit. But
Well, they have
not
the picks. They have the assets.
yeah, and also like the team would be the best. So it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
But moving away from the Spurs, you think about Miami as a destination. A, awesome city to live in. B, you have a built-in structure that you have an elite coach. Like you have the best coach out of all the options by far. So you are playing with a legitimate genius head coach who is proven, who adapts. You're playing with an organization that you don't need to worry about there being like Brad Beal type of fuckery. Although I say all this, and then Jimmy kind of did a lot of shit, but at the same time, in fairness to Jimmy took him to two finals, and they did eventually move his ass towards the end. Like that's kind of how the Jimmy Butler experience always goes, anyways. So I don't think the drama with Jimmy was that crazy. Miami does a good job of minimizing it. So he goes into a place where I think KD can just kind of lead by example. Like get his buckets, play well, play hard. I think the rest of the guys, when you're in the Miami system, there's no bullshit. You already have a built-in culture with Pat and Spo. I think that helps him a lot. I think he has to worry a lot less in Miami about things like leadership and trying to get the team going. Like it's just kind of built into you. Just show up and hoop. So basketball fit, I understand. I don't know what they would move.
That was my next question. You beat me to it, but I'm looking at the roster and I'm like, the guys I would want if I were the Suns aren't going to get you there cap wise, and I'm not even sure that they're as good as the other players that because like you're probably looking at Khalil Ware, maybe Jaime Jaquez. He didn't play a lot this last year, but he was good his rookie season. Like Nikola Jovic. I'm just talking about like the names that are kind of attractive on the team. Because other than that, you've got at the top, you've got Bam, Hero, and Wiggins. I guess the Heat would be cool with trading Wiggins. I'm not really sure they want to trade Bam or Hero.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
I just don't know what is it Wiggins and like Jaime Jaquez or Khalil Ware, and you're kind of mixing and
they probably
matching
want
older contracts with younger guys and picks, or like I don't know what the deal is. Yeah, where's their best?
Where's
money
the best
wise
asset?
for sure.
Yeah, they probably don't want to let Ware go because even Bam, for as good as he is like you don't want to put Bam through that many minutes now because he played a decent amount in the NBA and
he's going to be 28. He's going to be 28 next.
It's like Bam's an undersized center, but it's probably gonna have to be Ware. I don't know what they do with Wiggins. Miami. So some of the Lakers guys I follow, talked about Miami called about Rui. They called about Rui during the season. That's why the Rui for Wiggins trade is there's a framework of that isn't totally unrealistic because I think the Wiggins deal was them getting something back in return for Jimmy, and kind of like probably doing sort of right by Jimmy, being like, all right, fine, fuck it, like your agent has relationships, like we'll send you to one of the destinations that you want to be, blah 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 blah. But I don't think Wiggins is someone that they long term necessarily want to keep, even though I think Wiggins is good. I just think that they like to. I feel like those guys are just different. They like to develop them internally, but Rui is a little bit different. I think they are interested in Rui, but yeah, I mean, look, I don't. I think if Miami got the trade done, it's only because the other teams don't want to give up anything really.
I 100% agree.
Right, that's it.
I mean, we're looking. I'm looking at their roster, and it's literally Khalil Ware, who is their number one trade asset, like you said. If you're looking at young upside and money wise, because he's on a rookie deal. Jaime Hack was kind of a throw in, but like also on a really good contract and didn't play as many minutes last year, but was really impressive his rookie year. And then you've got Bam, who's probably untouchable, Hero, who's probably untouchable, and then Andrew Wiggins, who you'd be happy to move, but is that moving the needle for Phoenix? You might have to compare, like have a Wiggins and a Ware, and then make the money work and some picks. But is that even as good as what a Houston or a San Antonio can provide? Probably not. So it'd have to be like those other teams, like you said, kind of sitting out or not wanting to trade their assets, and the Heat being the best option at that point. Let's also just touch on Houston, and then let's get into the big news, which is the Bane trade.
Houston. I mean, who does Houston give up?
Yeah,
they have their picks, right?
They have some of their picks. I'm looking. I mean, the thing is that everyone quote unquote has their picks. It's about what other picks you have, which is why I like San Antonio for this, because they have other teams' picks, so they don't have to give up like the number 2 pick. Obviously, I'm saying they could give up a pick next year or someone else's pick. Whereas, the Heat, I think, have some picks, and the Rockets have some picks, but not the depth of which San Antonio has. But I'm looking at the Rockets roster and payroll right now, and it would be one of those things where it really depends on who Phoenix values. Because, like, I think the Rockets would be happy to give up Jalen Green, Jabari Smith.
Right, which Phoenix, there's no fucking way they want Jalen Green.
Right. So, but like, would you want Jabari Smith? He's 22.
I would definitely want Jabari Smith.
Right.
Just as a starter.
Right. So I'm
like in the course meals. I mean, just that's like
right. But I'm saying like Jabari Smith and like Sengun. Like, does that, I know, a pick? Does that get the deal done?
Right. And then if you're Houston, you don't want to give up Sengun, because then it's like, what the fuck do you have? It's like,
right. You don't want to give up Sengun, but then you've still got Amen Thompson, KD, Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, like Jalen Green. It's not as appealing. I totally get it. I'm just saying it's kind of the same issue. Everyone but the Spurs are going to have this issue. It's just, if you're giving up a player that Phoenix actually wants, to get KD, then what are you left with? I agree with you. I don't think I would give up Sengun, because they have him extended on good money. I mean, he's going to make $34 million next year, but that's probably about where he should be getting paid relative to his skill set. So yeah, it would be like, hey, do they really want Jabari Smith and maybe like a Jalen Green or another young guy, or guys that make the money work, and a pick or two? Like, does that?
How many picks do the Rockets have?
I don't know what they have available in, because you can go 5 years out or whatever it is.
High level, just from my gut, I think if I'm the Rockets internally, because I don't think Phoenix wants Jalen Green. So let's just, like, if I'm the Rockets internally, it's going to have to be a pick trade, like draft compensation trade. And I think I would set. Yeah, and of course, and Jabari Smith.
Actually, I take that back. Does Jabari Smith, Reed Shepherd, and some other guys that aren't as attractive to make the money work, but Jabari Smith and Reed Shepherd and a couple picks, does that move the needle?
I think a couple picks internally. I think for Phoenix, yes. I think Phoenix would be fine with getting back. I think the over-under on picks is 2. I think if you're Phoenix, you're like, all right, give me Jabari Smith Jr., give me Reed Shepherd, and then I'm going to argue for 2 picks. And I think internally, if you're the Rockets, you're like, is 2 picks an overpay for KD at this stage in his career? Because we got to pay him anyways. He's still an incredible player. We got to pay him anyways. Or I think they'll haggle over whether it's 2 picks or 1 pick. That's what I think it'll be.
Yeah,
personally.
or they can do like conditional picks. Or the other thing is like, if you're the Rockets, if you have KD and you can stay healthy, your pick is probably pretty late in the draft. I mean, they're going to have KD,
But that's fine.
Thompson, Fred VanVleet. No. So I'm saying like maybe they
Yeah.
don't haggle as hard. Maybe they're like, let's just get this deal done. We know we're competing with other teams, but like they've got a really good starting lineup. They've got KD with Sengun and Thompson and VanVleet.
Yeah, that's a
So it's like, yeah, you're talking about a legit team here. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. I still think San Antonio's the most likely destination for him, but Houston's number 2 for me. And then if neither of those teams really want to push, then I think Miami's got a shot.
Well, another thing about Miami that would be a benefit for KD is that the East is way weaker. So it's like he goes to Miami.
No. For me, it's more about Phoenix. What Phoenix is Phoenix going to be willing to accept a discount on a trade where they could probably get full value? That's the question.
Yeah, there's a lot of balancing forces because if you're Phoenix, you're like, I want to send him to the East.
Yeah, no,
like realistically, you don't want to create a juggernaut.
Of course, of course, and I do think that although the Spurs and Houston have the better players to send their way, I do think that Miami's picks, realistically, if you're picking like 3 years out, right? Like if they get future picks instead of picks for this next year, if they get future picks, are those picks more attractive than what Houston and San Antonio would give up in say like 2028, 2029? Probably.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those where they would have to balance it. Again, I think we should skip San Antonio just because we've talked about them at length.
Yeah, there's nothing really to talk about. It's like sick. They're juggernaut, like awesome.
They're juggernaut. They've got the biggest arsenal of picks and players to send. They should be the preferred destination for KD and for Phoenix if they actually want the best package for him. But again, we've talked about it. So let's move on to Desmond Bane. Would love your initial reaction. Let me double check. I want to read out the trade just because it happened maybe an hour before we got on, or maybe 40 minutes before we got on. So the Memphis Grizzlies are trading Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Cole Anthony, 4 unprotected first-round picks, and 1 first-round pick swap. Orlando is sending the Memphis Grizzlies the number 16 pick in the 2025 NBA draft. So that's the one coming up, the number 16 pick. Phoenix's first-round pick in 2026. So next year, Phoenix's pick plus Orlando's 2028 and 2030 unprotected first-round selections, and a pick swap that is lightly protected in 2029 for Desmond Bane. Initial thoughts, Chen.
I think, okay, basketball fit-wise, fantastic fit for Orlando. Fantastic fit for Orlando. He's a 40% three-point shooter on volume for his entire career. He's square in his prime. He's physical. He's actually a pretty solid defender, so he fits in. Orlando has tons of defensive athletes. They need shooting. Bane's also a 90% free throw shooter. Like, A-plus basketball fit. Orlando got a lot better for next season. 4 unprotected first-round picks and 2 swaps is insane.
Well,
dude.
I know. I think it's 4 unprotected first-round picks and 1 pick swap. Sorry.
Okay, so I'm thinking back to the last few years off the top of my head, and here is the thing. I think it's an overpay. I think it's a blatant overpay. I think it's I think it's a mistake. And even though the basketball fit is awesome, you just look back at the last few years, man, and all of the trades involving 4+ picks, like in hindsight, they all look like massive overpays. The Gobert trade, Mikal Bridges. Those are the 2 that come off the top of my head. But which other? I don't know which other ones, but
those are the 2 big ones.
When you trade that much fucking draft capital, it's like, unless you're getting LeBron James or like, you know what I mean? You have to be, it's like you are giving up so much shit for one player. And it is a crippling type of trade when it comes to your team's future. And like when the Lakers traded for Anthony Davis, what saved them is that they were able to give more players as opposed to like all picks. So they still had like a pick or two to fucking bury themselves with the Russell Westbrook trade. But it's like this trade, man, I just don't know who are they bidding against, which other team in the league was going to give 4 unprotected first. Like you couldn't have done it for 2, which I would have been like 2 is a lot. And Bane has a big contract too, I think. So it's like
Yeah,
4 in a swap is fucking outrageous.
Let me
bro.
give you more numbers here. Bane is going to be 27 years old next week.
That's fine. Yeah,
And
square is fine.
he's going to make just shy of 37 million next year.
Yeah.
And
that's
then
about his value.
Yeah, that's about its value. But
Yeah.
then obviously it escalates to close to 40, then 42, then 45. So he has the extension that kind of gets him up into that next range. I'm not sure he's a $45 million player, but when the cap moves up, obviously by 2028, maybe that is a reasonable price for him. I agree with you. I think that if I'm grading this for the Memphis Grizzlies, this is an A+ trade. I mean, if you were like, hey,
fuck, I didn't even think about it
from the Memphis side, I'm like,
crushed it, absolutely crushed it.
Because here's the thing. They probably didn't want to trade Bane, and the reason why this cost so much was because they weren't actively looking to move him. And Orlando called and said, "Hey, how much is it going to take?" And this is how the deal got done. But this is how
they listed the price. This is like a job negotiation. And it's like, what's the price?
So for the Grizzlies, I really, really didn't like their chances of doing anything with this current roster. Don't get me wrong, a healthy Jaw and a healthy Triple J, like those are 2 really, really good players in the NBA, but they're not top 10 guys. And I just didn't think that the rest of the roster was strong enough to put them over the top. And I like Bane. I think he's a really good player.
Bane's awesome.
But he's a 2 guard. And they're a dime a dozen. You can find them in the draft. You can find them in free agency. I'm not saying that he's not a really good player and he's not a player that's going to elevate Orlando, because he is. I think that they needed shooting. I think they needed a little bit more scoring, especially in the backcourt. And I think he balances out that team because he doesn't need the basketball in his hands. You've got Franz, you've got Paolo. They didn't have to give up Jalen Suggs.
Yeah.
And they've got a scorer. They've got, and I'm not saying he's Klay Thompson, but they've got what I think they're trying to do. They've got their equivalent of Klay Thompson, which is we've got peanut butter. And he goes with everything, and he's catch and shoot. And yeah, he can score on his own and stuff, but he doesn't need the ball all the time. Those guys are valuable, especially at a team that's young and has primary ball handlers already who are going to demand the ball. So it's a good trade player kind of team fit wise for Orlando. But for Memphis, if you're looking to turn over this team and do a little bit of mixing and matching with players that you've currently got on your roster without a full rebuild, without trading Triple J, without trading Jaw, without tearing it down completely, doing kind of a half and half where you're keeping some of the bones of the team, but you're adding in picks now that could turn into serious players. Let's look at the assets for a second. You've got the 16th pick in this draft now, which I would say you're not going to get one of the top guys, obviously, at pick 16, but I think that this is a pretty solid draft. And they can either move that pick, package that pick with another pick to move up, or just get decent value there at 16. I think that there are going to be guys that probably fall outside of the lottery that, outside of that top 14 that you would, that you can then have at pick 16. So I think there's value in that. Then that Phoenix first round pick next year. I mean, that's when they trade Kevin Durant, depending on what they get back, that's an unprotected first for Phoenix, who are in the West.
In a better draft next year.
A top 5 pick. That could be a top 5 pick easily. Then you've got 2028 and 2030. Now, realistically, Orlando in 2028, if they're projecting out their team correctly based on this trade and what they've already got, in 2028, they should be really good. Like that 2028 pick should be in the 20s. But by 2030, Paolo could have demanded a trade or injuries can happen. That 2030 pick is up in the air, and the pick swap, again, in 2029, kind of up in the air. But you're getting at least two to three good asset picks there. And I don't really think like Caldwell Pope or Cole Anthony are like terrible contracts. Let's look at it. I'll look at the Orlando payroll, but I don't think either of those guys are just neither of them are poison pill contracts that you're taking back. Let's look at it. Caldwell Pope is due just shy of 22 mil in next year, and then the following year, same thing, just shy of 22 mil as a player option, which he'll probably pick up, would be my guess. That's not a poison pill by any means.
No.
Suggs, not Suggs, sorry. Cole Anthony is due 13 million next year, which is a great deal. That's I would say a team friendly deal. And then the next year, there's a team option for another $13 million deal. That's a really team friendly trade. So you're taking I would say a team positive trade back in Cole Anthony. With KCP, you're taking on about 22 million in a contract you probably wouldn't love, but it's not, it's not a killer either where they've back loaded it or anything like that. Like he's getting paid probably a little bit more than what you'd be comfortable with, but you're giving up Bane, right? So you have a bit of your cap to give up here. So you're getting two serviceable players back. I think Cole Anthony could have trade value in the future, especially if he's an expiring next year, if they pick up the team option. Like, I think the Grizzlies got a ton back. And my big thing with this is Desmond Bane is a 2-guard. He's a good player, but he's not a massive name. And he's not going to propel Orlando over the top. This is as good as the Memphis Grizzlies can get for this pick. This is unbelievable business for them.
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's just a masterclass in how to rebuild. You just find one team that's fucking desperate and you just make them overpay. And now all of a sudden in one trade, you have completely reset your future landscape. And it doesn't really matter who you fucking have on your team now. Like, you decide what you want to do.
Still, by the way, they still have their two best players.
Yeah, they still have Ja and Triple J. So it's like, and Jalen Wells had a really great rookie year. So they have
Zach Edey as well.
Yeah, it's like they now have a war chest to figure things out, figure out what they're gonna do, figure out what the deal with Ja is and Triple J, and then completely retool their team. It's just such a good trade. And yes, Bane wasn't the problem, but it's like when someone's gonna offer you that much for one player, holy fuck. Like, dude, it's to the point where I know trades don't necessarily, like, I hate when they're like, oh, this sets the market for the entire fucking we're in real estate. Like, I don't even, like, it's like, I don't know if things really set the market that way, but not when it's an insane overpay like this. Like, the market, like, get the fuck out of here.
I'm going to ask you a question, and it's not facetious.
I know what you're gonna ask me, dude. Because I think I know where you're gonna ask me. Okay. I think I know what you're gonna ask me because I was gonna say that.
What am I gonna ask?
There's a player that you're gonna ask me about. If this did set the market, if I was offered this package, would I do it? Right? Is that what you're gonna ask me about? No.
Okay. We can talk about that next, but would you rather have Desmond Bane for $37 million or Scottie Pippen Jr. for $2.5?
Scottie Pippen Jr. for $2.5.
Because that's what Memphis is doing with this trade. They're essentially saying, hey, we're going to trade away Bane for close to $37 million next year. And Scottie Pippen Jr. is going to make just shy of 2.5 mil, which is nothing. Are we cool with that?
Yeah,
I think if you're looking at the money and value, look, Bane's the better player, but I mean, Scottie Pippen Jr. on $2.5 mil is one of the best contracts in the NBA.
Yeah, they're just saying, hey, look, and then Jalen Wells, they're probably going to groom Jalen Wells to be their starting 2-guard. Maybe next year, KCP, like, depending on what they do with KCP, like, KCP will probably start in the interim.
No, KCP is going to start next year, right? Like, if they keep him.
Yeah, but I don't know if he a key. Like who knows? They might still move KCP.
Fair.
Because there's gonna be some contenders who are like, hey, he had a down year, but like he basically chased the bag in Orlando. Like, KCP is still like solid. But I mean, they're just saying like, hey, look, we can't fully replace what Bane brings. Scottie Pippen Jr. is a point guard. He's small. He's not a 2-guard like Bane is, but Jalen Wells had a good year. He's pretty athletic, like young, athletic player. We could probably try to groom him to be the starting 2. And who really gives a fuck anyways? Because we have 4 to 5 first-round picks. so we can kind of do whatever we want. We need to just
Yeah,
figure out.
I wasn't saying Scotty's going to be there long
No, no,
term.
no. I know.
I'm just saying at 2.5 mil, yeah,
Better
if he's going
value.
to play off ball, he's a point guard, but he'll probably play off ball next to Ja. But that's incredible value. And then you got Jalen Wells, who was a later pick, so he's also at $2 million next year. So they're going money ball here a little bit, and I kind of love it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like that was such an insane overpay for a player that I really like, by the way. That for a player actually that makes me I still hate the Lakers for what they did after the championship because they worked out Desmond Bane, could have drafted him. And he was like on Lakers podcast being like, yeah, I just had a workout with the Lakers. Like they asked me a lot of questions. He was the perfect archetype of player that they should have drafted, like a senior, all that stuff. So I really do like Desmond Bane, but what an overpay. That's such a crazy overpay that if a team I hate to say this. If a team called the Lakers right now and said, we'll give you 5 first-round picks for Austin Reeves.
No. Bane's better than Austin Reeves, though. Yeah, come on.
I don't know. I don't know, bro.
I would rather have Bane.
Austin Reeves had an incredible season this year, and his playmaking was
Bane's just such a good shooter, though.
Yes. Austin's an average to slightly above average shooter. Bane is an elite shooter. You're right, but
it's just so hard to get elite shooters, and Bane is an elite shooter.
Yes. Okay. Fine. He's better than Austin Reeves, but you know what's crazy is Austin Reeves in the open market, fair value for what people say he is in the 30s. That's like fair value. Yeah. So I think they're pretty similar. Is my point. Like I genuinely because I've actually
I don't think you're getting that money. I don't think you're getting that trade value for Austin Reeves only because I think
he's not an elite shooter. I agree. Yeah,
Orlando wants shooter, and Bane fits into teams better than Reeves will.
Yeah, but if a team was like, yeah, I wouldn't move Austin for.
I get your point though. I see what you're saying. The value on Austin Reeves increases because of this trade in the comp. I get it.
Yeah, and I still don't think they're going to trade him, and I don't think I would trade Austin anyways.
I think you got to run it back. I think you got to give a full season with Luka, not to make this a Lakers pod, but you got to give a full season with Luka and the team, built around him. I never like judging it off of a small sample size mid-season when you can't gel and you don't have an offseason together. One more point really quickly on the Memphis trade, because not only did they get all these amazing, well, not all the picks will turn out to be amazing, but they've got, let's say they get 5 picks here because they get 4 and a pick swap. And even if the pick swap doesn't turn out, they've still got 4 first-round picks. I love that Phoenix pick next year. I think the 16 pick holds value, and one of the 2028 or 2030 picks will end up being value. The other thing is KCP could start for you in the 2-guard spot or, as a rotational guard. And then, or he has trade value, I think, at 20 something million, 22 million, I think you could still get him off the books. And there might be teams that are looking for a KCP type that would be willing to trade. So that's probably still a positive contract. The other thing I like is I'm looking at Cole Anthony here. He's kind of the ideal backup for Ja, because Ja's never going to play a full season in the NBA ever. And Cole Anthony's that score first point guard that kind of gives you the same kind of style as Ja in terms of he's still going to be able to get you buckets. I think you have these backup point guards that come in and they can facilitate and they can lead the second unit, but are you going to be, if you need to step up and be the starting point guard, if Ja's out, are you going to be able to replicate points? He can score. He can legit score the basketball.
Yeah.
So this is one of those where if Orlando wins, everyone will forget what they had to give up and it'll be worth it. Even if they make like a conference finals or something, I think that it'll be looked at as a decent trade for them because they will have kind of gotten the return they were looking for, which is to take the next step and be a playoff contender. But for Memphis, this is project half rebuild at this point. I mean, you still have Ja Morant and Triple J. So I'm like, it's not even like they tore this down all the way. If they had made this same trade, but for Jaren Jackson Jr., then I'm like, okay, you're tearing this thing down. But they got this for their 3rd best player.
Yeah,
like
I can't fucking believe it, dude.
Game changer for them. I love this for Memphis. I always have a soft spot for Memphis because I like the Memphis Tigers. So I I'm not a Memphis Grizzlies fan per se, but I do have a soft spot for them. Love this deal for them.
Yeah, dude, I can't believe they paid that much for Desmond Bane. It still blows my mind. Blows my mind.
Wrapping this up, any final thoughts on things you've seen NBA wide in terms of kind of trade news you've heard, anything about the Lakers that we should be aware of, or anything draft related that the listeners should know about?
So I think draft stuff, like there's a ton of names in this draft that of guys that I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention too much to this draft only because the Lakers don't have a pick, but there's a lot of guys. Yeah,
They could buy a second if they wanted to,
which is what I would do that. I just think that based on what you're seeing with the Pacers and OKC, like teams should be trying to get into the draft all the time, just to steal value. There's an intriguing guy named like Noah Asang or whatever. So I think he's like a European player. He's like really athletic, bouncy, big.
Yeah, he's been mocked to the Spurs a bunch and like to the teams in that range. Yeah.
So that's a guy that's interesting. I'm curious to see where Malawak ends up. I'm also curious to see where Khan ends up. And then there's guard from Illinois, like Casper something, who's
the Lithuanian kid who can play
fucking
a bit of
nasty
point guard, but he's bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see where he ends up. And so I don't.
Yeah, I've been reading a bit. What's interesting from what you said, yeah, I've read a bit about Casper. I think I've seen him mocked to the Chicago Bulls. I've seen Knippel mocked like legit 3 through 7. Like I've seen him go. Yeah. I still don't think people have a good bearing of just how high teams could go with him. And I also think we'll see some trades happen. Like if Philly moves the 3rd pick, that kind of shakes up the drafts a little bit. So there's still a lot to behold. I didn't know if there was anything that had just kind of jumped off from the news standpoint. I know it's a bit early because we're still in the finals.
There's one guy I'm pretty interested to see where he ends up is the 7'1" Chinese big man Hanson Yang. He is signed to Clutch. He's 19 years old, and when you watch him play, he's not an elite shooter yet, but his jump shot looks kind of nice. Like he's like pretty fluid at 7'1". Obviously needs to improve a little bit, but I'd say he's much more fluid than Zach Edey already is. And he's got really natural dribble, handoff, passing, touch instincts. He kind of is in the mold, not as good of a straight post player, obviously, but he's sort of like a European big. So I'm just going to categorize them all as like international bigs, but he's pretty similar in terms of feel for the game, like a Sengun, where they got some guard stuff. And what sucks is, well, it's good for him, but he crushed the combine. So he's probably rising up. Like I hate to say this, but the Celtics could potentially end up with him. He's climbing up the ranks. He's got a 7'7" standing reach or something like. No, not 7'7", way bigger than 7'7". 7'7" wingspan. So he's massive, huge hands, like legitimately a massive center with touch and feel for the game. Very unselfish. You watch him play in the scrimmages in the combine. In the combine, the combine scrimmages, guys are typically trying to get their numbers. He didn't give a fuck about getting his numbers. He was setting screens, making plays for other people. I would be sick to my stomach if he ends up on the Boston Celtics. But I thought he was a comfortable second rounder, and now he's jumping up the ranks. And if you look at this center market, dude, the center market sucks fucking cock, bro. It's so bad. So like dude, you got to get your center. That, you know what? That's gonna be my takeaway. It's like you got to go get your center in the draft. You have to go get your center in the draft because the only other options for center are like Jakob Poeltl, who's getting paid a lot of money, bro. You have to go get your center in the draft, and it could be a second round center. Get him in the draft.
Yeah, I agree on the center market is tough. I think people will look towards the draft. 2 names I really like. One is the kid out of South Carolina, Colin Murray Boyles. And he's an undersized big. He's like a 6'8", probably more of a power forward. But the way he uses his body, I think you could see him play some small ball five a little bit like Draymond in that regard. Like he's really physical, and he knows how to play bigger than he is. But he's 6'8". I really like his game. I think he would give you any team a lot defensively, and he's got a little bit to his game offensively as well in terms of like inside moves and being able to play, probably more in the interior than his size would indicate. And the other guy who I wasn't really aware of during the season because he plays for Penn State and isn't a big name, but I don't know if you knew anything about Yannick Conan Niederhauser. He's a big guy.
I don't know much
The
about
Swiss
him,
kid.
but I don't know much about him, but I know one of the guys who I follow who has been really good on the draft. Like he hated the Jalen Hood-Schifino pick. He's a Lakers draft guy, and I love his stuff. I wish he wrote more, but obviously, like this stuff
Give
takes
him a
time.
shout out. Who is it?
Mike Garcia. Mike Garcia is great. He was like pro drafting Cam Whitmore and stuff when the Lakers didn't.
Gotcha.
So I think he likes Yannick. I think
Yeah, I mean, this guy's a 7'1" center who's bouncy, freak athlete, gives you rim protection, can run out, probably plays well with guards who can get him the ball in and around the basket, alley-oop threat. Like, screams Lakers to me. He might go a little bit higher than that, but I think we could see some of these power forward centers in this draft go higher than projected because I do think the market's just so weak that teams will be looking to fill those roles in the draft. He's just a name I've kind of heard some mumblings about moving up draft boards, and I think he's got a lot of upside. Good Swiss kid, tall, checks all the boxes athletically, and gives you rim protection, which is just so hard to find in the NBA. So yeah, that's a name to watch out for. Not much else for me. Anything else from you here?
Final thing is apparently the Knicks are not bringing back Precious Achua. And I think he's
interesting.
Good.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think
what's his market value? What kind of contract would he be looking for in the market? I like Precious. Shout out my Memphis Tigers. He went there.
Yeah.
He's a guy who probably wasn't a good fit on the Knicks just because they had Mitchell Robinson,
monsters down there,
Cat, and so they already had those roles filled. But I think on a team that could use a 4-5 hybrid, I think he could be a good fit.
Yeah, I don't know what his market is, dude. Steven Adams getting 3 for 39 isn't that crazy given the cap rising. Like 10 million a year, or no, like 12, 13 mil a year. It's not insane for a vet center because there's no centers. So I don't know what his market necessarily is, but if you look at the free agent centers, they're so bad. And I think I don't know, man. Like, would you pay Achua 10 a year?
Yeah.
Right?
The thing is, dude, right now we're seeing guys who like are just decent NBA players making in the 20s. I'm willing to pay pretty much anyone 10 mil if I think that they can play a role on my team.
Yeah. I think more and more teams, I think teams are fucking just dropping the ball. I think more and more teams, like if I was a team, I would literally just fucking like build out, and I'm sure like teams like OKC have this, which pisses me off, but I would just have like 4 guys specifically for international scouting and just go steal players, dude. Like you can get these players for nothing. Like there's so much talent internationally. You can just go fucking steal a guy and he could actually play for you. Like there's so much market inefficiency with that shit. I swear to God, we're not even scratching the surface.
But with Precious, I mean, there should be a big market for him, especially if you're only giving him 10 mil a year. If you're asking him to be a legitimate rotation guy for 10 mil, like that's, for me, that's below market value. There's way too many players in the NBA who barely contribute to make 20 million.
So he's going to be out there.
He's a rotation big. He's a rotation big.
I don't think the Celtics can bring back Cornette. So I think Cornette's going to be a name that teams want. I wouldn't mind him on the Lakers. So yeah, Cornette is another name. Would I rather have Precious or Cornette? I don't know how switchable Cornette is. I still would value a switchable big over anything else. So
I agree. I do think you need a rim protector on the roster. I'm not saying he has to be your starting center, but I think
Yeah.
you do need a rim protector just for certain matchups when, it's a must to have someone who can do that. But yeah, it's also a must have to have a switchable big, especially in the starting lineup. I mean, you've seen it a little bit with this Pacers series, having the 1-2 of Miles Turner and Obi Toppin. You've got the more traditional center, and then you've got the switchable big. Having both of those on your roster provides so much more flexibility. So they both have value. I'm with you though. I think if I had to pick one, I'd prefer the switchable big in the free agent market.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a stingy motherfucker when it comes to any draft capital. You know that. I hate trading picks at all. But Jared Allen, like, if the Cavs trade him, I wonder what he goes for. But that's all I got. I know you got to run. So
cool. Yeah, I know that this has been good. I think obviously we've gotten news with the Desmond Bane trade. We could probably talk about what implications that has more going into the draft, because the Grizzlies have the 16th pick now, which is interesting, and that Phoenix pick next year will be even more interesting once Kevin Durant gets traded, and we can see. I mean, Memphis could theoretically get a top 5 pick there, which is crazy. And then we've got Game 5 coming up, so we will have another episode out for you guys after that game, and plenty more to talk about in the NBA offseason as well. Yep. But that is it for No Notes episode 5. Thanks everyone who is going to tune in either now or in the future, and we will see you next time.
Yep. See it.